All right, ready? Let's hit it, brother.
The following is a presentation of the Controltrends podcasting network.
Welcome to Control Talk Now, your smart buildings podcast with Ken Smyers and Eric Stromquist. Control Talk Now, your source for control news you can use. And now, here is Eric.
Hey, welcome to Control Talk Now, your smart buildings video cast and podcast. This is episode 353, where we talk about all things HVAC and smart building controls. But hey, what would a smart buildings podcast be without the smartest guy in the controls industry, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Kenny Smyers? Kenny, welcome to the show, big dog.
Well, thank you. A couple of things. One is I appreciate that my headphones, again, got tighter. And no, I'm not the smartest guy in the business, but you know what? We hang around and we have people on the show that are the smartest people in the business. So we have some association. And two, I recognize that Zen voice, by the way, that introduction. You got quite a show. And you're right. The last guest you had on was quite a charmer. She was a knockout.
Oh, she was, and brilliant. I tell you, talk about somebody else that's sort of addressing the need for getting, quality people into the industry. And she's got a great company. So it was really great to have her on. And man, she was great, wasn't she?
Well, I mean, I didn't knock out both in appearance, but just her relationship to how she keeps saying in the corporate world, I thought was really interesting.
You're talking about a different podcast. You're talking about the Zen Brothers, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
cool.
I was going to give you some kind of credit. You got to get some. We would get people when you're not doing anything. Control Talk Now is getting on the top end of it. You need a change and a break. Eric has another show called the Zen Brothers, and it's some really good stuff. And the people he has come on are very successful people that need to cope with stress, with corporate America, with the political pressures, and you guys dealt with them pretty comfortably. And then you did it with the coronavirus, where one of the guys is traveling to Australia, and he said, "I will travel safely, and I will not have an issue with this coronavirus." So I thought that was kind of cool. Anyhow.
Yeah. So the Zen Brothers is the podcast. The theory of it is it's called Conversations with Everyday Masters. And the thought process being that everybody's a master of something. I mean, you listen to Ken Smyers, he's a master of a lot of stuff, and we all have certain things that we're masters of. And, and it's not to say that guys like Anthony Robbins and all these really famous people aren't great. It's just that they have staffs and budgets and we don't, right? So, but anyway, Kenny, appreciate the shout out on that. And that was Chris Wiltsey, who we interviewed, who is just a brilliant woman. And so good stuff there. But brother, we got a big week here today, don't we, buddy? We got a really fantastic guest and lots of good stuff coming up.
Well, yeah, Erica, the mention earlier, and we'll hear later on in the broadcast, is that the year has accelerated. It's like the sensation of passing of time. It's been a strange year. January's gone, February's gone. We're into March, and there's a big show coming up that we'll talk about. But we've got daylight savings time coming up real soon here. So, to me, we're already in spring. They're already talking about baseball, and football's camped out for a couple months, and God. So be it, see if we get a different outcome next year. But this coming season.
Hang on, let me just ask you something real quick. Have you seen this XFL stuff? The new football league they got?
No, I have not.
I've seen some highlights. It's great, dude. They don't have any roughing the quarterback rules or anything like that. It's like it's a throwback league. It's really fast. It's really physical. There's no unnecessary roughness. I mean, these quarterbacks are just getting pounded. It's great.
Oh, I don't want to see that.
Reminds us back when we were young, man.
I don't like to see that. I mean, come on. I play quarterback. It's no fun. I mean, got a lot of work out there. It's hard enough to throw the ball. When the defenders are so good and so quick to move to the ball. You don't need cheap hits. Come on now.
All right,
no, I'm just kidding. XFL. There was a couple of versions. That's a strange story. The NFL and how the USFL and the World League of American Football. Yeah, I was once upon a time on top of all those, but then I've not heard the one that you just mentioned. I've seen the women one.
It just started this year. I think they might pull it off because it seems like what they did, and there's kind of an analogy here to our business if you think about it. I think what they did was they looked at everything people were complaining about with the NFL, and they just went back. They changed it, so there's no instant replay or challenges and stuff like that, and there's no roughing. I mean, it is literally full tilt. These guys
Wow,
are your
almost like
brother
rugby,
Tommy. Your
huh?
brother Tommy would probably play.
He would love that. He'd
Yeah,
have
he
been
would love
ideal.
it. Yeah.
And we don't want to forget our dear Canadian football leg and our arena football. I mean, there's been a lot of take twos on the NFL, but you're looking at the biggest, strongest monopoly in the world. And the sixth branch of the military, you have the Army, Navy, Air Force,
In the
Marines, and Coast
NFL.
Guard, and the NFL, baby. And I'll tell you
Nice.
what, they bring
Nice.
it.
I like it, brother. I like it. So listen, we're going to be in San Diego here in April for the Niagara Tridium Summit, and it's going to be something else. But you excited about that?
I am. I had recently visited San Diego for another meeting, and then had the opportunity to go down into the area where the show is going to be, the Manchester Hyatt, on April 19th through the 21st. And as we will soon hear, there's going to be an opportunity to spend 3-4 days, because hopefully you can tack one on to the travel time, because it is a long distance for people on the East Coast to the West Coast. But it's going to be the cliff notes on innovation and technology from a global perspective on everything Niagara. So
listen, dude, I'm going to tell you something. I think I've got to correct you here. I know you're a wordsmith, but it's not going to be the cliff notes. It's going to be the textbook, the definitive textbooks on all those things. But hey, listen, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce our next guest so that
I would love to.
he can help clean this up. Cliff notes my rear end. All right, Kenny, how about introducing our guest?
Indeed. Eric, I'd love to. I mean, all roads of integration lead to this gentleman. He's one of the top industry stalwarts. I remember my first experiences. He is the Director of Strategic Business at Tridium, Mr. Ed Merwin. Welcome to the show, Ed.
Welcome, Ed.
Great to be here, guys. Always really enjoyed having a good chat with you guys.
Well, when we first met you, we called you the great communicator, kind of like, or references back to Ronald Reagan, the way he was able to put complex things in terms where people could understand and rally behind it. And we've said numerous times on the show that if it wasn't for you, we're not sure that Niagara would have taken off. And because you just did such a great job being the great communicator. But I think you've gone from being the great communicator to your new title might be James Brown, the busiest man in hardest working man in show business, right? So,
well, and I appreciate that. But one thing that makes my job easy is I'm representing a fantastic team of people, right? And that's been we're going on 20 years now. Which is pretty amazing. And I always say my job's so easy because we have the absolute best people in the world working on our technologies, and I'm just representing them. That's why still have enthusiasm after 20 years, and it's amazing how fast things are going. It's just incredible how we see the changes. We see more in the last year than we see in the previous 5, and it's just a hockey stick. So.
Well, it's very impressive because I think we've watched that 20 years evolve and watched Niagara become the kind of the industry de facto standard for frameworks and integration. And I know that in our area, our world, seeing Niagara show up as it is, that it's the key to being open and key to having multiple OEMs in a school district, or typical thing. But you guys got some really important things lined up. In other words, Niagara is not standing still. In 2020, you got some big things on the horizon, and you got a Niagara Summit 2020 coming up.
Yeah, we really do. And, I've been involved in every single summit, since it started. And this is probably the most diverse agenda we've had. I mean, it's just so many things are going on in the industry. I mean, we could talk about the edge to cloud, and some of that was noise several years ago, but, it's real stuff now. And that just means the stacks are getting a little bit more complex, or what we touch is getting a little bit more complex. And so the technologies are changing too. It's just, when we talked about LAN and BACnet so many years ago, now people have to understand what's MQTT, what's the BACnet of the cloud going to be. Those are the types of things that we're doing. And we've kind of set up the agenda in San Diego to cover that. And then we all know cybersecurity is a given now. It's an absolute given, but even that's changing on a daily basis. The technologies that we're utilizing, it's just, and then now the other thing is the hardware. Everybody said, we're a software-driven business, but now all these chips that are coming out. As a matter of fact, one of the sessions we're going to have is with a partner of ours, ARM, and they're building, artificial intelligence and machine learning into the chips now, right down at the chip level.
Wow.
So that's the kind of things that mean we have to take the software that was once, written in one language, and then we say, okay, now we're going to be embedding this at a chip level, which is really super exciting. And now the chips are so smart we can now do upgrades over the wire. So you don't have to go to the job to do an upgrade. It's going to be kind of like your cell phone at night. It's going to go ahead and upgrade and do those sort of things. So that's a really great session that we're going to be talking about the tech trends.
Well, hang on, Ed. I got to hop in here for a second, because
Sure.
when you start talking artificial intelligence, I've already, reached out to Elon Musk and said, I want one of those artificial intelligence chips for my brain as soon as he makes those available. But, not to sidetrack things too much or give away what's going to be discussed at this session, but from your, being in the industry so many years, how do you see that possibly affecting controls, artificial intelligence in the chip? What are some of the possibilities there?
Well, and you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because another session we're doing is right now, everybody's talking about artificial intelligence and machine learning. And the last time I think we were on, Teresa and I, we told you we wanted to make sure we told the truth, right? We want the summit to be where you get the truth. So we have a session with several people that are working with artificial intelligence and machine learning platforms, and we're going to put them up stage and say, okay, we're going to demand the truth from you. What's real today, and what do you really have, and can somebody buy it today? That's the proof. But some of the cool things, and I saw a demo with actually a Honeywell Connected Enterprise fellow showed a demo of what they're doing for predictive maintenance, where they are actually predicting when things are going to break, when filters are going to be dirty. And if you think about it, if you get an extra couple of days or a couple of weeks or a month on a filter, think of the money if you have 10,000 filters in your building or in your campus. So those are the real things. It really can learn what's going on. What are the pressure drops across a coil or across a filter? And they can learn from that. And they can tell by how long the unit's been running, but much more than that. What was the static pressure? Maybe what's the weather outside with how much dust is in the air? And we can predict realistically, we're going to change that filter exactly when it needs to be changed, or we're going to clean that coil exactly when it needs to be cleaned, or we're going to know we're going to have to adjust that valve linkage when it needs to be done. Those are the real applications, I think, Eric.
Right. So I think you can front run, problems, and then the operational expenses will be reduced greatly, because you're going to be able to schedule your stuff, know when to roll a truck. And on top of that, you're probably going to be able to get some energy savings by tightening up, your variables, right? Because the system will learn it.
Absolutely. A lot of, some learning will be done in the cloud. Except one of the people that's going to be talking, what's unique is they're able to take multiple customers and learn from multiple customers and customer sets and utilize those to help the next customer. Now, when you go down to the edge, okay, at a super chip level, you've got one VAV box, you have multiple VAV boxes that you can learn from. And maybe there's going to be multiple brands of VAV boxes, and you're going to learn that this VAV box, okay, might react a little bit differently from a brand perspective than this one. So when do I need to go lubricate the fans? I have to give you one example that was great. We were just down in Atlanta, and Honeywell has been working closely in the aviation group with Delta Airlines. They've been using predictive maintenance and artificial intelligence to predict when a specific device in the plane might have an issue. Because if you've got something like a ventilation fan have a problem, well, it might not be a bad problem, but if you start having some smoke or things like that get generated, well, that's a real issue. So they were able to use a lot of learnings and go back and look at a lot of data and also say, okay, we can do much better maintenance to make sure that we're always going to have our planes flying. So that technology we know has been proven today. Now it's the same idea to come into the building side. It's no different. Airplane is super critical, of course, but why not take those learnings? And it's just, kind of tweaking the algorithms, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And it sounds like, Ed, on top of that, it's the algorithms tweaking the algorithms. Many years ago, three or 4 years ago, Kenny, I had a guy named Dr. Igor Mezic, and he had this super self-learning algorithm. And his theory was, and he kind of disappeared, so we hadn't heard from him, but his theory was, if you just give me the sensor inputs, the algorithm will learn the relationships between them and make an auto-tune itself based on things that you might not have ever considered. And that might be a bit of an extreme, but it seems like, these are the realms of possibilities we're talking about, and people can learn about it at the summit.
Yeah. So that's what's really cool. And then of course, one thing that's always great, and I've just been looking at the application section, which James Johnson leads. And there's going to be just a tremendous amount of information on really good application engineering and applications. So I also want to encourage, say, don't, we want managers to be at the summit, but send your application engineers. They're going to learn something big there. I mean, we've got, 4 hours the first day and 5 hours second day, like 9 total hours of pure detailed engineering help. And it's everything from using templates to, we have a new concept where we're actually going to be able to take tagging and create graphics automatically. We're going to talk templating. We're going to talk about new JSON toolkits. Again, another language that's going to the cloud. So we have JSON, MQTT, how to set up cyber secure environments. So this is some really good, very strong technical learning. In addition to a total of 30 different sessions that we're going to have above and beyond the keynotes and the panels that we're going to do in the plenary. So really, it's really going to be a good investment, and I encourage people to make sure your technical staff participate in this as much as your sales staff or your operational staff out there. I guarantee you it'll be worth the time to be able to do that.
So in reality, you're probably going to send 2 people because like you were saying, you're going to be torn between the sessions. Although you guys do a good job of kind of, you have it, you run them more than once so that if you miss the first session, you'll be running in the afternoon and you can switch back and forth, right?
We're doing some of that, but we've had people tell us we want more content. We want more content. So we are going to have some overlap and be able to do that. And again, some people might decide to send, I just talked to one large system integrator and distributor who's sending 25 people, not only their own employees, but they're bringing their customers with them, right? And they're making a big investment to be able to do that. So we're seeing larger groups come this year because they're realizing this is where we can really, it's really worth the investment. When you think about the training you're going to get, right? It's just great. So, and not only the business side, one thing else we're doing, we've talked many times, we're actually going to have a session on developing and creating a technical workforce, a sales force. So what we're talking about, we've talked about, we want to get more techs out there, but you know what? The sales force needs to become smarter and learn more about what's going on. So people like Scott Pape is going to help us, and Kim Brown and Scott Dyke from Alberio. They're going to lead a session on talking about what do you do to develop a really good sales force that can deal in these new technical environments. And then on the other side of the education, we're also going to say, what are we going to do in the community to train technicians? So we have some good representation and showing about some educational programs at the community college level and vocational level. And we really want to spearhead that. We want to talk more and more about what are we going to do to educate people in the future in our industry. Because that's the real scary part right now.
I agree. I mean, I remember early on, you were a big proponent of sales. In other words, in order to sell and tell the story, basically the sales representative has to have a certain level of competency, first technically, but also building the business cases, helping people, bridge the gap between where the technology is and what your situation is and how it can fix it. So I certainly will try to attend as many of those.
And I think that's one of the bigger issues, because you might, not only do you have to understand the technical side and you need to understand your product, but I feel the most important part is what is the value to the owner. You can bring a product and you can show off all your technical stuff and do your PowerPoint all day long. But if you can't connect the dots for the customer, then you've probably failed. Your job is to help be a trusted advisor and be respected and help them be successful. I like to think that the most successful salespeople make their customers successful first, and then everything else will work out, right? If they're not successful, you'll not be personally successful.
Right. And Ed, you're the master at that. You are the guy who is, again, for us, those of us who grew up with you in the business, you were that guy. And it was, it was never really product first. It was more, let me tell you how you can make money, or let me, understanding what we were trying to accomplish in the business. Yeah. And I think that skill is so important. My question for you is, can it be taught, or is it innate?
I think it has to just be explained. I think people want to learn, but they feel, first of all, you need to be technically compliant. You just can't walk into somebody and say, here's my stuff, please buy it. you have to understand your product. And I think I'm the young engineers that I'm seeing that are coming out, the ladies and gentlemen coming in our industry are quite good. I mean, they've had great education. They just need some mentoring. And that's one of the things that's been very fun for me in my new role is I also do a tremendous amount of mentoring for people because I want to say, look, not only is this important, but why is it important? Because we want to take and save our customers money. We're talking about all this artificial intelligence and how it might save a truck roll. Well, we have to explain that to them. That's why they need to look at investing in it. And what I found today is so many companies are willing to invest, okay, in technology today more than they used to be. Before it said it just has to be a flat ROI, but they're willing to listen better. Now, look at people like, the Facebooks and the Googles that are going to all green energy. They just made that decision. We're going to go that way. But now we have to help guide them. Okay, it's a lot more than just putting solar panels on the roof. How do you interconnect that with the utility? What are the things you have to do? So again, somebody's got to do that journey. And our industry are the people that can help. I don't think any other industry can take somebody on that journey because it takes more than electrical knowledge. It takes more than mechanical knowledge. It takes IT knowledge and OT knowledge. And that's what we're trying to design. The whole thing at the summit is to talk about all those things. What's the master system integrator's role? What are we doing with IT and OT? Some of the cyber things that we're seeing is really nice now. We have the federal government and Department of Defense are going to participate, and they're taking the lead in cybersecurity. Let me tell you, they've really done a great job, and we've got some really nice sessions on dealing with the Department of Defense and the Navy. Really nice sessions there that will help people, not only if you're working with the military or the federal government, but they're just good learnings for regular business as well. Really excited about that. Again, and then we're talking about financial side. We're going to have a session on let's talk about, how are we going to finance a project for a customer? We're going to lead them. What are some unique ways that you can use your savings? What are some of the companies you can work with that if you need to, let's make sure we understand the financial side. And, over the years, we've had energy service people that specialize in that, but more and more, I think as an industry, we have to understand what financial mechanisms are out there for our customers to make these changes. Because what's going to happen is their infrastructure, they've got to figure out a way to do this because it's so important, just even from a cyber perspective. How do I don't have a choice but to upgrade my systems from a cyber perspective. And what are the unique ways I can help? Can I help them by saving energy? Can I help them by saving, operational savings to get a cyber secure system? And when that might be the most important thing.
One of the most bizarre experiences I've had recently was when we went through the savings and what would happen in the benefits, but the organization structure was such that this guy wouldn't go through with the program, finance the program to have it done because he would not realize those savings that would come out of his investment into his operational, efficiencies wouldn't come back to him. Therefore, he's not going to pay for something and save money that he can't get. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is a new one. How do we figure this one out?
Right. And I think sometimes, people, what we're finding is a lot of our customers really get that. They're looking at it that, a lot of businesses and corporations doing very well right now. And frankly, they've got cash out there and they want to invest it. And they're seeing that infrastructure and operational and energy savings is a great investment. They can buy back stock and do some other things. But if you look at the returns on a really good infrastructure upgrade for intelligent buildings can bring excellent returns back. It's a great investment if you've got the capital. Now, if you don't have the capital, that's when we want to get creative and we tell people, listen, this is access to it. And the other thing that we're finding is people want to do things as a service nowadays, and we're going to talk about that as well. They don't have upfront $1 billion, but you know what? They'll pay you so much a month for some infrastructure. So we're going to talk about, a lot of these new cloud applications are as a service. You pay as you go on a monthly basis, and it's a lot easier to do it that way. So I think you're going to see us talk. I know you're going to see us talking about as a service to be able to get Niagara as a service and not have to maybe pay so many dollars up front. I just want to do it on a monthly basis because some people's business model works that way. So that's something that's a little bit unique. And then another thing we're working with was we have some great healthcare things we're going to talk about. We have some. Everybody says, well, the healthcare. We don't see a lot of Niagara in healthcare. That's just not true. We have thousands of customers in healthcare, and we're bringing them to the forefront. It's been kind of quiet, but we have some really healthcare partners that are going to talk about what they're doing and how important it is, because healthcare, there's a lot of consolidation in healthcare. So somebody is in one hospital today, and I was just with a facility manager, said, you know what, we just bought the hospital down the street, and I've got a totally different automation system, and I've got to own it. So I've got to start immediately talking about how do I integrate that into the total healthcare infrastructure that I've got. So that's something that's a little unique. And the other thing we've never talked about hardly at the summit at all is fire alarm and smoke control. So we have a session. We have some partners in Europe that put together a fire alarm supervisor, and they're going to present on what they're doing with fire management with multiple brands. And then we're also going to talk about smoke control and what people are doing to get certification for smoke control, which is something that's just brand new that I'm very excited about. So.
Well, Ed, I tell you what, it just sounds like for all our listeners out there, this is a must get to session. Out of all the sessions I've been to, it sounds like this one is packed with ideas that can help you grow your business and keep you in business. And, I think a lot of us suffer from this great economy. And what I mean by that is we're all so busy. But the stock market's, I think, down another 1,000 points today. And, it's cyclical. Business is cyclical. So I think, Ed, you said something early on, and I'm posing this kind of as a form of a question too, that our business is changing so rapidly. And you might have a ton of business right now, but if you are not sort of aiming to the future and preparing for that, there might be a gap you might find yourself in, and it might be hard to get back on the train. So I would encourage all our listeners, even if you are super, super busy, this is something you want to get to.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I mean, people are busy now, but you have to stay ahead of the curve, right? We talked about that. You've got to stay. Our business is changing so much. To remain successful, you have to kind of stay ahead of the curve. That's what we're trying to do. I mean, and we're trying to give people ideas. Some of these ideas might not work, okay? You might not want to be in video, but Laura Kevin's going to talk about the new framework. We just came out with a rebuilt framework on the video side. That's super exciting. But you never know. I mean, we have had companies that never thought they'd be in the bring security into their system integration business, but they've become hugely successful and grown very well because of that. The other thing we do is we have a lot of end user participation this year. You're going to see more end users than you ever have, because it's their stories that make us all successful, right? If the end users aren't, utilizing products, they're the ones that are building the smart buildings. So we're going to have some really nice panels of end users at the front end of each day. We're going to have panels that talk about, end users up there talking about what their journey was. We're going to talk about, some of these major projects that were done. Things like, Amazon distribution centers and the Warner project up in New York City, and how do you deal with a big project there? But just, how people have got to adjust their business. And I think everybody will learn something. I think is something here for everybody. If you want to look at what's you might see in the next year, or if you want to see stuff that's absolutely there today. But we're trying to really, as Teresa and I were discussing yesterday, we've got to keep this real. But we also have to expose people to what's out there. And again, that was just talk about what's going on with artificial intelligence. And people have been doing it in video for quite a while, and we'll talk about that. But again, we're moving it down to the chip level. So it's kind of AI is a buzzword now, but how do you really use it in our business? That's what we're trying to get people thinking. How am I going to use artificial intelligence, predictive maintenance, machine learning to be for the betterment of our community and our end users? That's going to be the key.
Well, Ed, and I got to tell you, this is a quote from the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Kenny Smyers, which is, nothing is obvious to the uninformed. And I think now in the business cycle, it's more important than ever to be informed. And it sounds like you guys are just offering a very, very wide choice of pertinent opportunities, information, and things that people really need to know about.
Well, I'd like to say even further that I think that this is the global cliff notes on innovation and applied technology. In other words, this is the difference between the Missouri rule and the theoretical. You're gonna have people there that are making the case. Having users come up front is amazing. Just to hear somebody that tells about their journey, because they're going to tell you all the barriers and pushbacks that they overcame.
Right.
And then when they got it, everybody comes on board and it's a huge success. But it sounds so exciting.
It really is. And these jobs are not easy. We all know that. We've kind of all been there. And so why not learn from the people that have taken that journey, right? And they can help other people do that. That's the difference. This is really a community event. Just again, from the college level and the university level, we've got a complete group of folks coming in that are university end users talking about the journey they took. And they'll tell you they made some mistakes along the way and they experimented, but that's what we all learn from, right? Major universities that anybody can learn from. So again, that's what we're trying to do. We'll talk about just a lot of different subjects, and we really are going to do some things in the plenary, because some things we want everybody to know. Some things are pertinent to everybody in the audience, whether they want to go to the application track or they want to go to the tech trends track or go to the business track. Some things we think are universal. So that's where we've got some nice sessions each day that are going to be the ones where we want the end users talking to the entire audience. Yeah. Those types of things. And we want the cyber community to talk to the entire audience, because we think that's very pertinent.
Well, and I love the fact, it's the truth telling, right? Because again, a lot of things can sound great in theory. And, you and me and Kenny, we were around when the building automation first got started. And people come out with computers and it's logical. You just turn the chiller off and you'll save X amount of dollars. But in the process, maybe they ruin a chiller, right? And I think we're seeing so many new players and new technologies, new ideas come into our industry, which is great, right? But, how many companies that, are out there that you really don't think to go, well, do they have any money? Are they going to be around? It's looks like a great product, a great idea, but are they even going to be around? So I think the ability to come and actually talk to people that have made mistakes, maybe have drunk the Kool-Aid and gotten burned. They can say, hey, look, you might want to consider this before you do this, or we didn't think to look into the company's financials before, we took this on, or whatever. There's a million different ways you can get stung right in this business. So I think that in and of itself, I applaud you guys for, let's put the spotlight on, let's get real, let's tell the truth. Yeah. And I think people are going to come away with some great knowledge.
And we've got a great group of sponsors this year and people that are exhibiting too. And we've got more exhibitors than we've ever had before. And we've got some new exhibitors people never heard of probably, right? And this gives you the chance to walk up and talk to those people and say, okay, tell me, why I should do business for you. Tell me what you've really done. So, and I think they're excited about it. We actually have engineering companies that are going to be there. We have pure play software people. We have pure play, artificial intelligence. We have our standard community partners that have been with us forever. Great partners that we all work with every day are going to be there, but they're going to have their best people there as well. So I think it's really good. At ASHRAE, we like to walk around to the booths and interact, but I think we all agree you've got 2.5 full days to interact with all our partners. So it's not just, go into ASHRAE, speak for 15 minutes to somebody at the booth and move on. Here you can have some really good long conversations. Their technical people will be there. It's not a fluff show whatsoever. And I encourage everybody there, ask the hard questions of everybody that's there. Okay. Tell me why I should do this. And I think people are prepared. I think they really are. We're having our developer day on the front end Sunday. So developers, that's always good. We're going to do some educational things on the Sunday as well. So we've got, we're going to actually have some pure play educational stuff that, so if people want to learn about the new security dashboard, Phil Zito is going to be doing some training on IP controls and what you should know about there, because we're certainly seeing that change really quick. So we've got some really nice, we'll be posting the agenda, the detailed agendas going up as we speak. So take a hard look at it. I just think it's a great investment in everybody's time. And again, it's all about, as we say, the conversations that we can really talk and really try to learn something. I think it's very valuable. And frankly, it happens to be in a beautiful city and a beautiful property. And Therese and her team have done a great job, not only in planning the agenda, but also planning the event. So I can't.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit more about that in a minute, because you guys do know how to throw a heck of a party as
There
well.
we go.
But Kenny, you had a question, so go ahead before I drop this bomb on people.
No, again, I wanted to do, I circled something and I wanted to come back to it because I want to know if we can go ahead and start commenting on about the MQTT being the backnet of the cloud. That kind of caught me early on when you said that, because the new protocol, is there such a relationship that could actually be the case?
It's multiples. You know, it used to be, you know, I just found that's an easy way to explain it, right? Because
cool.
when we work with people like, you know, customers that have data centers and people like Google and Amazon, you know, when they pull data in their cloud, they're using their own protocols. They're telling us what they want to use. And again, MQTT happens to be one that people use. There's also something called JSON, and we'll have deep details about doing that, but those are the new languages. So if I've got a customer today, it's not only about making their building work, making sure the temperature control works, making sure the dampers are operating. Well, now I got to push that data up to their infrastructure, and they're going to tell you what you're going to do. So that's why today we have to understand that, and it has to become more prolific. And we're going to show you some things that are going to, we've got some new secret cool things that we're going to show that are going to make that easy for you to do. We're going to show you some Niagara-based applications that are just going to know how to connect to the cloud for you. And make that a lot easier, so it's a little bit more transparent. You know, this stuff is hard enough. Yeah.
And that's why I think you've been the leader on this whole journey and the story of it, because you just explained stuff so easily and so well. Because I think your background, your technical background, the time you spent, you know, as a technician, lent itself so well to the development of the technologies, so that you can explain to somebody exactly as you did it there. So you should go into start a business on training.
I appreciate that, but it's again, I'm learning from our engineers who understand this technology, and we were lucky enough that our engineers were already ahead of the game working this when the customers said, hey, by the way, this is the way we want to connect. And what's really neat is we have end users today that have their own developers on top that are developing their own cloud drivers into their Niagara infrastructure.
Well, there's no better way to protect your future and protect your than to be a part of that new technology, the new development.
Exactly, because it's just the way it's going to be, and it's all, you know, I will tell people the cloud is great, okay, but we still have to have, you know, smart buildings have to be comfortable, safe, efficient buildings first.
So put your head in the cloud, but keep your feet on the ground.
There you go. That's a good one. That's a great one.
But Ed, absolutely. Listen, I want to shift gears a little bit, because you've mentioned this a couple of times, and you know, the one thing that, you know, Niagara and Tridium have always been known for is great products, but also great people. And I mean, you know, you guys just have some of the best people ever, and you know, you guys like you, Kevin Brown, James Johnson, we mentioned, but I did want to just sort of take a minute and acknowledge Therese Sullivan. And, you know, you said earlier on, it really is about, you know, getting the message out, the communication. You guys have great marketing. You know, Therese stepped in. She actually won the Impact Person of the Year at the Controltrends Awards. So
we're really proud of her.
Yeah. So tell our community a little about what Therese and what she's bringing to the table for you guys.
Know, Therese, her title is really customer channel manager. She can connect with the end users. You know, she's been connecting with end users forever. So she has that touch in the field that is so important. And you know what? It gets neglected a lot of times. I like to feel I'm very lucky because I've been able to talk to a lot of end users. But Therese understands that. And then she's one, you know, she's a great writer, first of all, and a tremendous communicator. But she also, she's been looking at that technical curve, not worried about Niagara, but worried about where's the technology going. She's been right there in Silicon Valley, so she's seen this. So she's got a tremendous perspective and brought some really great knowledge to us, and just a great person to work with. And I think that's all the difference in the world, and that she is another person in the community reaching out to the community every day, and some people that we don't talk with. You know what? I'm probably a little bit more comfortable talking with somebody in the boiler room or somebody that's a consulting engineer, or but she is with technologists all the time. And she's the one that also, she's seen a lot of those stories of great technology that just failed, right?
Yeah.
So she's got a really good meter to know, is this going to work or not? And she's just mentored us on a lot of new technology as well, and how it's impacting customers.
Right.
So.
And rumor has it that back in the day in the Valley, I mean, she was Steve Jobs' tutor for a while, Bill Gates' tutor back when they were having trouble understanding technology. Therese stepped in and helped them out. So, no, she offers a great perspective. She's a great person. She's planned this event, which,
Yes.
I want to get to the fun side of it now, because this is going to be in San Diego, and a little truth telling here. Okay. For those of us who've seen the movie Top Gun, Ken mentions being in the Air Force. There's a lot of people that think Tom Cruise's character was based on Kenny Smyers. And then Therese has done some research. So we're actually going to go on the Midway. On the Midway, right, Ed? We're going to go on the Midway. We're going to see where Kenny sang that song to Rita back in the day when she was in Kelly Preston's role or whatever. So it's going to be fun, right? We're going to have a lot of fun out there.
It is.
Too.
We always, we kind of pride ourselves. We'll have a nice opening event on Sunday night, which we'll have around the pool at the fantastic property that we have there. But then on Monday night, we'll be on the Midway. We will be right on the Midway, right on the flight deck, and that's where we'll have our
that's
our
incredible
gala event. So, and again, I'm looking forward. I know, Kenny, you can probably explain you've been there and seen
Guys,
it. So
I was just there 2 weeks ago. And let me tell you something. It is remarkable. If you haven't seen it, it'll blow your mind. The size, just the scale of mass that the Midway is. And then when you go up in it, it's what, 50, 60 years old. So, I mean, it's incredible what the technology they had, and how you'll get to see how they launched the aircraft out of there using steam, and then these little tiny metal, basically like the size of a pen. And when the steam was so powerful, it would break that little metal thing and launch the plane. They knew that it had enough force behind it to launch the plane from a very short runway. And the design of that was incredible too. But anyhow, the area is magnificent. It's very quaint, but there's a place you need to go to when you talked about Top Gun, Eric, and that is the Kansas City Barbecue, because that's where they did the filming of Top Gun when he does.
Hang on, is that where you sang Rita the song? Did they base the character? What song did you sing her again?
I don't remember, because
you got that Love and Feeling. That's it. Love and Feeling.
Oh yeah, Righteous Brothers. Yeah, and and in the jukebox down there, that of course is highlighted. So this place is a very small, quaint little environment, but it's condensed with all the Top Gun information. So all Top Gun, the whole cast was there. They partied there. The director, that was her favorite little watering hole, and they found it by kind of mistake, and it became part of the movie. So neat little story there on the aside. But the area for your family, for people, if you have that opportunity to bring plus one, your spouse and whatever, there's just a remarkable compact area where your hotel's at, Ed, is right there on the water.
Yeah. Well, and I will tell you, because I've been to every one of these and I've seen the list, we have more significant others attending this event than we probably ever had. So I think it's obvious that people are taking advantage of that. So.
Right. When Ed says significant others, he's not talking about your technical staff. You need to do a +5. Bring your wife and 3 of your technical people, right?
There you go. And I really do think, like I said, yeah, I think it's going to be, like I said, it's always great to have it in a nice area. And again, we're very excited that to have it there. And again, and I will tell you just another thing, just even the meeting room layout. It's such a great property. We have plenty of room. The biggest thing, we tend to outgrow a lot of these properties that we deal with, but this one, Teresa's done it, and her team, Danielle, have really set up all the meeting rooms very well. They're spacious, high-tech meeting rooms. We're not going to have to worry about overcrowding. People will be able to get into any session they want. So it's just, a lot of things that a lot of deep details, and not to mention, it's just going to be a nice property to do that. I've got the beautiful veranda that I've looked at, that during the breaks, you'll be able to look out and see the water, those types of things. It's just nice. I think it always is nice when you're at a meeting and you're getting pretty intense, but to be able to take a break and really, kind of take in the atmosphere a little bit.
It's going to be something.
By the way, the Midway, 74 years old. It was commissioned at the end of 1945. It was the largest ship in the world until 1955. So imagine having a reception out in the channel of San Diego on this show. It's going to be a heck of an
Hey,
experience.
but Kenny, if I know Therese, don't be surprised if she figures out how we can take it out for a spin. You
Yeah.
never know, right? But
Yeah.
but April 15th through the 18th, is that the dates, Kenny?
Yeah.
No, it's the 17th. Here, I got it right here, so
Yeah.
I don't make any mistakes.
Yeah.
It's the 19th through the 21st at the
Right.
Manchester Hyatt.
Mansion. And people can still register at. I know you guys
Absolutely
are
can still register. We have got deep details going up on the site. The site gets upgraded literally every day, but we'll have all the deep details so people can kind of plan their trip, be able to download an app for their phone, those types of things to be able to do that. So.
And Control
yes.
Trends we'll put the links up. We'll make sure the links are there.
Absolutely.
And, man, Ed, anything else you want to say before we hop off?
No, just say that we talked about earlier. Some things that we talked about. I want to bring up just one aside. One of the very first summits we did, there was a session there about growing tulips and about how we use Niagara to help with agriculture and tulips. Well, this year it's going to be some details because a lot of people use Niagara to help grow other agricultural products out there. That are very popular on the West Coast.
Yeah, making the planet greener and happier, right?
Exactly. So, but you know what? It's a business and it's an environment that we're all seeing out there, and so we'll actually be talking about some of the details of that and how complex that agricultural products have become. So, I think it just kind of shows where things are changing, and we're trying to keep up with that. So,
very, very
and
cool.
Even some new takes on. We have one session that people say, lighting and motors. And we have this, we're going to be talking about motors with intelligence built into the motors and how that's going to tie into smart buildings and new ways lighting are being done using circadian rhythms for health. So the idea that lighting can be adjusted to help people heal better and to feel better. It's just a lot of things have changed. It's not just turning lights on and off and motors on and off now. So those are the kind of things that really get exciting as technology gets embedded deeper into our products. So
cool.
Well, very cool. That's Ed Merwin from Tridium, the great communicator, the hardest working man in show business, and all around good guy. You can see him and the rest of the team from Tridium and all the greatest integrators on the planet, April 19th through the 21st in San Diego. Ed, thanks so much for taking time to be with us today, brother.
Great. Listen, always appreciate what you folks do. It's always fun to be here. And it really, you're doing such a great service for us to be able to communicate to the entire community. And we really do appreciate that.
You're very, very welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Ed.
All right. Well, Kenny Smyers, man, great stuff as always from Ed Merwin, man. What a just an amazing individual he is. And man, I am so pumped up about going to San Diego. And, but dude, we had some other big news this week. How about telling our community a little bit about what else we did?
We sure do, Eric. We were telling folks that there was some transitional issues going on because we were in the midst of a major project, and that was to update and revamp and make new Controltrends. The website is up and at 'em, the new Controltrends website, and it's a lot of work that you did, a labor of love. And I look at all those old monikers and in the Control News that you can use, and then the Control Talk Now, which is news of the week, and so it's a fresh look. I think it really does. It's very appealing. And again,
dude, let me see if I can share my screen here. Let's see if we can show our audience real quick.
Yeah.
Let me try that real quick and see if we can bring it up here.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know when you can see my screen, brother.
I can see the screen, desktop, yeah.
Okay, here we go. So we're going to the new Controltrends site, and here we go.
There it is, yeah.
Let me make it big. So there we go, Kenny Smyers. That's the new look and feel. We tried to streamline it. And one thing that people somebody got confused about was where's the search bar? And just so you know, it's right up here, this little thing. And then you got your big search right there, right?
Right.
So that was about the only source of confusion we had. Kenny and I are trying to make the categories, less categories, easier to find stuff. WordPress apparently has a super, super big time search engine built into it. So Kenny and I are using more tags now. But as you can see, it's a new look, it's a new feel, it's a new day.
Yeah. So we appreciate everybody's patience, and we're just going to get. It's going to be bigger and faster and more access to the important things that are going on in our industry. Again, it is the purpose. It's a portal for people sharing information, vendors, solution providers, engineers, facility managers, systems integrators, and just anybody that's interested in what's going on in the world, of controls.
Control
Yes.
news you can use, baby. Control news you can use. So, and
Right.
listen, probably ought to thank, I think it's been 10 years now. I think we're in our 10-year anniversary with this thing. And thank you for all the support from the vendors, from the viewers, the listeners, everything else. It's been a great ride so far. We want to keep making it better and better and better. So any input you have, reach out and let me and Kenny know.
All righty.
All right, Big Doug. What else we got before we hop off on this auspicious day?
Well, there's been some things going on. The press release, Blemo's got another retrofit app. Please click on it and register. We will continue to upgrade the events section. Again, we're kind of, we weren't behind the times or anything. It was just that in order to get one thing done, the other things may have suffered a little bit. But now that we're on track, we can bring back. We get some posts to catch up on. Some folks have sent us, some submissions and whatever, and we'll get caught up probably next weekend. I mean.
Yeah.
Or the weekend after that one. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I'm leaving the country for some clandestine location, which I cannot discuss. So we're actually recording this show a little bit early. So but we'll be about the middle of March. We'll be getting back on track, full steam ahead. But it's good stuff, Kenny Smyers.
Right. Well, again, the welcoming the spring, the approach of spring, it's been rapid in terms of, how quickly it's coming on us. The next big events are popping up. We've got the April 19th through the 21st, San Diego, Manchester Hyatt. Going to be a great opportunity to network. And I want to go back and defend and justify my Cliff Notes. Is that if you don't, textbook might be too long for many people to get through, but if you read the Cliff Notes, you get smart quick and move on.
That's like calling Ed Merwin a blogger. Come on, man, you can't do that. You can't do that. No, you're going to get everything you need to know in just the right doses. Plus, you're going to get to hang out in a beautiful spot, and it's going to be a big time. I remember the last one in New Orleans. Remember they had the big parade and everything for us. And I mean, what about us? What about the Tridium Niagara community? All the participants. Yeah,
well, we got to do a Mardi Gras parade right there at the real thing, and with a police escort and the band, and it's just an event. See, that's what I think is really cool. I mean, we love our jobs and we work hard and everything, but if you're not having any fun, it could be troublesome. People get locked, in their own world and don't have any kind of release points. But this thing here is open. One thing about California, I have a daughter that lives in San Diego, and her family. So my daughters Sabrina and Brendan and Nora are there, and they love that open air. Beach is 10 minutes away, and there's just something about California sun that's different. I remember some of the songs that they talk about. It's just a different kind of a physical sensation difference. It's not the same as being in Minnesota or being in Pittsburgh or even Atlanta. It's a different sparkling effect.
Anytime you get a chance to go visit California, go. I'm not sure you want to live there, but to go on to visit is definitely the way to do it. Yep. All right, Big Dog. Well, listen, we're going to try something here, a little outro music, see if we can make this thing work. See if we like this one. There we go. You can hear that, Kenny?
I sure can.
All right. Well, there you go. That's another week on Control Talk Now, your smart buildings video cast and podcast. For the week ending whenever, a special thanks to our guest, Ed Merwin from Tridium. Be sure to register for the Niagara Summit if you haven't already. And with that, Kenny Smyers, remember, be bold, stay in control, stay relevant, register for the Niagara Summit, and have some fun.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. That's a wrap, Big Dog.
All right.